You know, in all that we had covered yesterday, if you thought you should get little more clarity on anything, you can raise the matter. Yeah.
There was a statement in the notes. The value of goods and services produced in the base year is equal to the market price in the base year.
Yeah, market price. You are comparing the market price. You have to take it back for the constant. What is the constant? Base year price. Base year market price. In the base year, apple was 10. Now the apple is 15. So have you produced more apples, or has it just been 50% of inflation compared to the base year? Isn't it?
So the value of goods and services would be for the current year. Because it's the same number.
Value of goods and services, the GDP that I've been quoting, $3.75 trillion, that is the market price. The market price. When you are told the growth, you will be told nominal growth, you will also be told the real. So if you say nothing, you are essentially, it's a market price. The comparison with the market prices of the base year, isn't it? Yeah? You're okay?
Yeah.
Take your time. We are 3 days old. So, you could get some questions. Now, yesterday we had concluded the discussion on the GDP. Now, we will talk about, we'll talk about alternatives. Alternatives to GDP. Yesterday also I've heard somebody say, day before yesterday there was an article in the Indian Express saying, your GDP is rising, but the number of people demanding work under Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is rising even more. How do you put the two numbers together? If the GDP rises, it should mean that the prosperity of the country involves everyone. Here is a GDP, there is a stock market, forex reserves, and then side by side you have opposite numbers. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee, which is a distress program. People who are under distress, they opt to go there. It doesn't even give you minimum wage. It gives you a notified wage, which can be less than minimum, because the name of the wage is notified. You're not working in a factory or farm. You're working for relief from distress. How do you... That is why yesterday we had a certain discussion about the limitations of the GDP. That one of the limitations we expressed yesterday, poverty doesn't capture, it doesn't matter to the GDP whether people are poor or rich, as long as the numbers are rising. All that you are producing within the country, export, your GDP will still go up. Produce only super duper luxury goods, GDP will still go up. Jobless growth through artificial intelligence. You know, AI is wonderful, super wonderful, absolutely thrilling, equal to God for some. But what about the people who are told to not to come to the office, you know, because of AI? So AI is a mixed blessing. It's a blessing, all right, but it can displace. So I'm saying automation can displace people. You will still be growing, but the growth means nothing in human terms. Growth has no human face. It has the face of a machine. And so, you know, you could be growing, but there could be greater poverty. Poverty, GDP doesn't capture at all. Inequality, GDP doesn't capture at all. Gender disparity, you know, it is a part of inequality, but when a certain group is being singled out for ill treatment, you have to mention it. Gender disparity. And then environmental imbalance. Environmental damage, it does not capture at all. These are the qualitative limitations of the GDP. Quantitative, we know, all that happens at home, not captured. Illegal, not captured. Informal, inadequately captured. And also GDP grows even when the nominal prices are up. You know, these are the quantitative dimensions showing the limitations of GDP. This is the qualitative side, you know. But please understand, even if I'm shouting at the top of my voice in sheer frustration, the GDP does not tell you the whole story. Unnecessarily getting frustrated because GDP advocates don't say GDP is the metric for progress, development, well-being, quality of life. No, they don't say. It's most unfortunate that it is the illiterate fellows, you know, all the political people, they say GDP, GDP, GDP and all that. But you must also remember, when G20 conferences took place, G20, 20 cities, when they met in Bhopal, the Thinkers 20, they did clearly say that GDP has to be qualified. Alternatives to GDP should be looked for. Women-led development, important. Green development, important. Human development, important. They did say it. The T20 guys, G20, Thinkers 20. G7, those seven, the advanced, they also had a T7. In the T7 again they have said we have to look for alternatives to the GDP. You know, because the world is not growing. These guys are experts in diverting your attention. When the world is not growing, you will ask them, why are we not growing? Then they have to tell you, don't bother about growth. You know, but the fact remains that GDP is very crucial because the story begins with GDP. It may not end, it must not end with GDP, but it should begin with GDP because once you start growing apples, then we'll talk of price, then we'll say everyone should have an apple, then we'll say men and women not to be separated, not to be discriminated, then we will say employ people to produce apples, then we'll say don't ruin the environment, but produce the apple first. So, GDP, the economic growth, the product is crucial for the beginning of the human civilization. It begins with GDP. So, no one disagrees with the fact that that is why Dr. Manmohan Singh or any, seasoned economist will say, economic growth product is necessary but not sufficient. Hard work is necessary but not sufficient. Hard and smart. You see? Read the right thing. I've been reading this and no, read the right thing. Hard work is necessary but not sufficient. And what makes the work sufficient? Smartness. Reading the right thing, reading it the right way, noting the right thing, reproducing the right way. So the quality of the GDP has been the question mark. Therefore, there have been alternatives. And I am seriously proud that our own little neighbor Bhutan has a metric which the world is opting for, step by step. That is called, GNH, Gross National Happiness. Please, GDP is growing but nobody is happy. What kind of condition? You're making money but you're drinking 24 hours. You're angry and then you're shouting. Oh, what sort of life is that? So, that is a very, very highly narrow life. So, you see, you should be happy. Happiness is the proof that all is well. Anything that makes you unhappy is not progress. And therefore, gross national happiness. As I said, the beginning of happiness is production. You have to produce apples and oranges. You have to produce computers and laptops and mobiles. You have to produce food. Without economic growth, you are not beginning the civilization. But if you think that economic growth is everything, you are not just a fool, you are a criminal. For economic growth, the whole of Joshimath, Uttarakhand, Ganga, we thought Ganga is pure and great water, ultimate in life. Where is that great water? Where is that pure water? It's all polluted now. And we thought that the forests of Himalayas are wonderful, gods live there. Where are the forests? And we thought Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, etc. Very soon all this will crash unless you wake up now. So, Joshimath, the land subsidence is a wake up call. Wake up call. Sikkim, the glacial lake outburst, floods. Wake up call. Sikkim, the paradise is getting washed out. So that is why the Bhutanese people figured out that we should work for happiness. In which the first thing, of course, is economics. Economic growth is, the idea is not to become primitive all over again, abandoning economic growth. Not at all. That is the silliest way to learn from what's going on. That's not. You have to grow, but grow the right way, green growth. So, economic growth, number one. Environmental stability. Remember, China is going into Bhutan, they are talking. Wherever China goes, they will pollute the place, turn a forest into a road or a telecom line, cut the trees and pollute everything and then still not leave. You see? So environmental, I'm seriously worried about Bhutan. 10 years from now, already it's happening in Bhutan. All the roads and bridges and stuff, they are sacrificing all the environmental stability. And when China comes, they'll make a Sri Lanka out of you. Environmental, grow, but environment friendly. Don't disturb the rivers and trees and biodiversity. Are you not reading yesterday Hindu? Tamil Nadu, how many birds have disappeared? Today I thought there'll be a report in the Hindu, I've seen it elsewhere. You know, climate change and its impact on biodiversity. How many amphibians have disappeared because of climate change? And then how many reptiles? Oh, so, you know, environment friendly. But that's not enough. That's not enough. The third one is you must have good governance. Without good governance, all this is nothing. Imagine the river is fine, economic growth is there, but wherever you go, government is after you, bad governance, no transport, no school, no hospital, no public distribution system. You're going there for grains and they'll shoo you off. See, good governance, you and the government, you should have a positive relationship. You should have enormous trust in the government. And the government should have enormous empathy and sensitivity for its citizens. Without that, no amount of refrigerators and air conditioners, no amount of environmental stability is going to get you happiness. Take China. You've got everything in China. What is it that you don't have in China? Electric vehicle you've got. But China is crumbling a bit. Today Hindu, Evergrande, etc., etc. China is crumbling a bit. Now the point I'm making is, go to China, assume that all is well, economic growth and all that. Guys are watching you all the time. Nobody likes being watched. Leave me alone. Give me a meal, but leave me alone. 2 meals, leave me alone. So leave me alone. I want to be private. There is something called private in my life. You know, surveillance, suppression. No, that's not human life at all. Maybe better than all this underdeveloped, but that's not it. So good governance, where the government reaches out, giving goods and services to people transparently, accountably, citizen-centered governance, all services, public goods, merit goods, all of them are serving the citizens. I gave you some examples, be it the police, be it the government, schools, hospitals, and of course roads and public transport. You go for a DTC bus, good DTC bus, you know, lots of them, and comfort, secure, then good governance. So good governance is absolutely essential, and it is an organic component of your happiness. And also one more thing, please. Cultural continuity, you know, multicultural. All cultures. Basically, I'll explain. I belong to a culture. My dress, my food, my way of life, my thinking, my poetry, my prose, my literature, my dress. You know, that's very close to my heart. Give me everything else, but deny me my culture, I'll feel unhappy. So happiness has a close link with culture. You know, we speak Hindi, let's say we speak Hindi. In that Hindi language, if we are not allowed to speak Hindi, don't you feel stifled? Okay, you know the French, Italian, Spanish, all that you know. But your language, your happiness, your thinking, your mother tongue is Hindi. Be it Hindi or Gujarati or, you know, whatever, Malayalam, whatever it is. That is where your mind rests. That is how your mind, you think in your mother tongue. It's okay in India, English is also our language. More than Britain or America, it's our language. We have great authors in English. We do dabble a bit in English. But scratch yourself and you will surface in your mother tongue. And the music, you see, there is no comparison with the local language music. We do appreciate foreign music also, but my language, my music, my nativity, that is a crucial part of my happiness. Make no mistake about it. You stamp out my culture, I'm not the happiest. Leave me alone in my culture and I have certain food to eat. Whatever the food, allow me. You know what is happening in Bombay IIT? Disgraceful. You are having vegetarian, non-vegetarian, segregate. You are having chutney, he is not, segregate. Oof. You like salt, he likes sugar, segregate. You know, it's not mechanical segregation, for God's sake. It's ideological segregation. I want to humiliate you. I want to practice apartheid. You know, not at all. This, your day doesn't begin well. You know, as civilization progresses, we all come together. Together. Especially when you're having food, we should all have food together. Singing, joking, discussing, we should have food. At a fundamental level, you are segregating as if one is poison and the other is not. So, culture is very, very important. GNH. And I'll show you a graphic a little later about the Bhutan concept of gross national happiness. Within this, they have more. They have something like mental health, physical health, education, all that they have. But basically, this is the structure of Bhutan's concept of gross national happiness. Fired by this and looking for an alternative to the existing notion of the GDP. Everyone likes GDP, but everyone is sick with it if it stops there. GDP is wonderful. After all, what we are doing is wonderful. But there is one concept called growth at any cost. You want to get IAS, you won't go to sleep at all. 70 hours of study. Why? Because you want to be in Labasna. You will crash. You'll not be able to operate. So there has to be balance. Individual life, social life. Social life, the balance is economics, this environment, culture and political. All of them have to go together. Only then there is completeness in life. Holistic. GDP is not purely quantitative concept. It's not holistic. The term being used, I've heard an interview with the man who wrote that article in the Express. He is saying, everyone likes GDP. Who doesn't like GDP? Growth is growth. After all, without growth, nothing starts. But holistic understanding of our life. Holistic. The word holistic, the examiner will like. Please don't omit that. Holistic. You have to write this. Now let's stretch our discussion a little more so that you are more familiar with what's being offered as a holistic package for our progress. There is this World Happiness Report. World Happiness Report. This question is not coming in the exam even while the entire thing is highly privileged and prestigious, because they have said India is more unhappy than somebody in Afghanistan. How can that be? Are we not smiling? Ever seen an Afghani guy smile? Because as long as repression is there, as long as feudalism is there, there is no, I've seen these Afghani people, they are not happy. You are ranked below them. No. I'll tell you why the ranking got wrong. I'll tell you. World Happiness Report. See, they'll ask you, there's a Gallup poll, they'll ask you, cross-section of the society, they'll give you some criteria. On each criterion, they will ask you, how do you feel? Maybe they got the sample wrong. And the guys whose views they have taken to crunch it into a rank, those people might have been selected by mistake. Because some people will always say nothing is right. Even if they think something is right, they'll definitely say nothing is right because they have a political bias. Maybe. I don't think India is so unhappy. There is certainly unhappiness in India. We are not in a paradise. But to rank us below, I mean, somewhere near, below all these Irans and Afghanistans and, all the Nigerias and, no. So, World Happiness Report is made every year by United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. This is a UN thing, please. We have to take it very seriously. And when you cut it and see what's there, unpack, you will have tremendous criteria to judge happiness, the state of development and all that. See, first GDP, of course. Maybe you can throw in some environment and all that. Then they, what they consider? Freedom to choose. Please understand. If you respect the individual will become Einstein, the individual will become Ambedkar and all that. If you disrespect the individual, you are killing the individual. Psychologically you are killing. Physically you go on. So what am I saying? Freedom to choose. I am wearing a kurta. If there is a code, dress code, you should wear a suit and I am not comfortable, then my mood is off in the morning. I would like to have my food. There is so much variety in food, you have your kind of food. And I would like to, carry a mobile with me. I would like to watch a certain movie. I would like to read a certain book. And all these are my freedoms. And at another level of freedom is, in India, we are a terrific civilization. If you leave the kids alone, some of them will become painters like M.F. Hussain. Some of them will become dancers like Michael Jackson. Some of them will become singers and what explosive creativity is there, intelligence is there. They'll all become scientists and what-not. But then you push them into, you become doctor, engineer, chartered accountant, all this. So freedom to choose the career of your choice, freedom to choose the stream of your learning. These are all freedoms and they matter a lot to the personal autonomy and personal development. So they see the freedom of choice also. Food, they start. And then they also see any society where people are generous, that society has empathy, solidarity, and that society is genuinely interrelated. So they'll check, when was the last time that you donated? It's a Gallup poll. Where there is generosity, the society is evolved and happy. Where the generosity index is low, the society is naturally unhappy. So they check the generosity, they check the personal freedom, they also check, they ask you, you get an email from that, United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, you get an email. Do you trust your government? Public institutions? If the government is trustworthy, a separate level of happiness opens up. But if you don't trust the government, not just not trusting the government, if you are afraid of your government, if the government is predatory, to expect you to be happy is... So when I say this trust in the government, public distribution system. I don't have my Aadhaar card, I'm a Narega worker and there is no, all these are worn out. Go, there is no Aadhaar, no food. Is that okay? What will this guy think? Yeah, school is there. What is the quality of learning? Can I trust my kids to the school here? Will they become learned people, will they become, qualified for big jobs? Hospital is there. Where is the doctor? Waiting from 10 to 12. Where is the doctor? Where is the helper? Where is the equipment? Does the hospital open at all? I'm not saying 100%, majority. So public transport, what is the quality of public? So based on this, you trust or otherwise your government. The more you trust the government, the greater the happiness. Because the government is everywhere, for God's sake. So that is why, all, whether you are doing karma yogi or whatever you're doing, all that is to make the government come closer to the people. So they'll ask you, do you trust the government? And then they ask you one more thing. Social support. We all go through moments of crisis. And the crises are also not a superficial crisis, for God's sake. They challenge you to respond in a manner that you will come out stronger. Challenge is always something, a problem. When you resolve, you come out strong. So you see, we have our own crisis. You are coming to Delhi and then you have to study. You have to ask somebody, what are the challenges for me? I'm on a mission, I've got only 9 months or 10 months or whatever, and I want every day to produce results for me. What do I do? And then your friend, some social support network, what problems can I get? How do I, because if you have to discover how to resolve the problem, it could take you much longer than somebody helps you out, and that can happen in a few minutes. Social support. Earlier family was there, now joint family. Earlier village was there, earlier your caste was there, earlier, but now internet is there. Internet is literally God sent. I have this problem. Such lovely people are there who will solve the problem for you. That is virtual and cyber. I'm saying social support among the people. You have a problem in Rajendra Nagar, we are there. But you must have friends who will, kind of help you. Social support it is called. Social support systems. Are you alienated? Are you atomized? Do you have a community? Are they helpful? Then again you will feel a crisis is no crisis. It's another occasion for, learning, etc. So social support, trust in the government, all of them, for God's sake, all of them are very crucial in judging whether you are happy or not. I still feel that we are not so badly off. You go to any village, yeah, we have caste, we have religion. Yes, we have. We have patriarchy. But if you net out all that, we are still a country where we are born happy. There are pressures, please. There are pressures. But if you net it out, it's all a net basis. We are still a happy lot. I'm not at all undermining the difficulties of living in India, for God's sake. Go to America, criminal society, everyone is a criminal there. You're never safe there. But America still figures very high in the list of happiness ranking. So don't exaggerate the sources of unhappiness in India. I'm not undermining, I'm not at all belittling the difficulties. But cancel all that out. We are a highly civilized, the more I speak to anyone, not just young people, for God's sake, please, young people are always good, but the more I speak to people, the more I'm confirmed that in India, the DNA is open society DNA. Believe me, overwhelming majority of the country is a highly civilized group. And so, to say that we are so unhappy by the ranking, etc., I don't trust the rank at all. We are unhappy. After all, the whole ranking is, it is not the happiest country. It is the least unhappy country. Finland and all that. Nobody, there is plastic smiles. Nowhere are people happy. They are less unhappy. I'm not happier than you. I'm less unhappy. Afghanistan is the least, most unhappy. Because you know why? So, you know, some phraseology has to be got right. Otherwise, you know, this is about the World Happiness Report. Now, Dharmendra ji, Bhutan and the UNSDSN, GNH Bhutan. You know, this breaks down into all this. Education, time use. See, today we all got up. I might have got up 1 hour earlier than you. I got up at 4:35. You might have got up, went to sleep at that point, whatever. The whole day, you know, I love studies. Left alone, somebody gives me a fellowship, I will be a bookworm, whatever. I love studies, but it does. What am I doing throughout the day? A lot of people are there, they would like to go for a play. They would like to go for a movie. They want to sit down with the friends and enjoy. But that seems to be a luxury. I'm loving it, please. I don't have the concept of all that, the concept of movie, all that I don't have. I'm just being personal. But a lot of people would like to spend quality time with friends, family, movie, party, all that. Is it possible? I don't think it's possible. You know, because the pressure of work is so much. That all sorts of pressures are there. See? The time use. Work-leisure balance. Work is leisure. If you understand work as a source of pleasure, then you are liberated. Culture. You know, respect the other person, whatever his culture, respect, he is as good as you. You know, you are co-equals. Governance, ecology. So it breaks down into psychological, you know, please. What is physical? Food and clothes and all that. Physical. Psychological. The casteism, communalism, patriarchy, hatred. They wreak havoc on your mind. You know, physical well-being, obviously, but we understand only physical. Psychological, mental, every day somebody says, I cracked up and all that, psychotic, this, that. There is absolutely no need except that there is an organized effort to, you know, psychologically suppress and all that. This is the Bhutan story of how to count happiness. Take another 30 seconds. Don't have to go through it again. The 4 pillars, economic, environment, culture and governance. You could abbreviate it E2CG. You could if you like, or you want to begin alphabetically CE2G, the way you like. But don't make a fetish out of that. Understand well. You know, some people have techniques of memory. What nonsense is that? If you understand, read it again, you will be able to reproduce. There is no shortcut to that. There is no need. It's so interesting. See culture. Look at these guys. Yeah. Now the World Happiness Report. UNSDSN. This question about World Happiness Report is banned. We don't get it in Indian exams. Why? These fellows have said we are one of the unhappiest countries. Social support, healthy life expectancy, who can argue with it? You know, then generosity, perceptions of corruption, positive effect, experiencing, you know, they ask you, what sort of feelings do you have? Have you been feeling joyful? Have you been feeling angry? Have you been feeling irritated? So what's been the state of your feelings? If you say, I've been joyful, I'm satisfied, you know, I feel for my society, then there is a positive effect of yours. Oh, I'm irritated, I'm always angry, I shout a lot. Negative effect. You know, so based on that also we get this rank about how happy or other. Somebody who is shouting, not only is he unhappy, he'll make others also unhappy. It's an infectious disease, you know. So that's the World Happiness Report, which is, yes, inspiration from Bhutan. Now, let's talk about other alternatives. We'll get there, not yet. So, the third one I would like to talk about would be HDI, IHDI, PHDI. Human development. As we have been emphasizing, economic development is incomplete without human development. So how do you estimate human development? Very simple. From 1990 they have been saying this, UNDP. Simple. The number of years you've been to school, your per capita, they call it GNI. I removed the word GNI because only World Bank says per capita income is and national income is GNI, gross national. They have a peculiar understanding. I cut that out because it's not in our dictionary. How long do you live? Life expectancy, the number of years you've been to school, you expect to go to school also, number of years you go to school, and of course, you know, per capita income, per capita, lifespan, per capita, and education. This is how the human development is calculated, 0 to 1. 1 is complete development, 0 is, nobody is 0, nobody is 1, in between you have. So now, you know, I have a way to describe this. In GDP, you ask, how is the economy doing? In HDI, you ask, how are the people doing? You know, GDP is worth nothing if the people aren't doing well. So, from GDP to HDI is progress in estimating human condition. So, HDI. But then HDI can go wrong. Few people have lots of per capita, the whole nation gets lifted up. Few people live up to 90, 100, the whole nation gets lifted up. You know, and again patriarchy there, men, women, all that. So, the UNDP created a, you know, subset, IHDI, a new type of HDI where your income is 100, HDI is very big. But see, this is a society, stratified society. Here, what is the national per capita income? Today, I mean, you work it out, 3 crore by 3.75, about $2,000, and that works out to about, say, 2 lakh rupees. These guys, you know, sky high. Yeah, a little less, but very high. This could be 5,000. These guys are, you know, abandoned. So if you tell me that the per capita income is very high and based on that you get a good rank, it doesn't mean that the whole nation has a, you know, good per capita. So these guys are down, adjust the ranking downward. These guys are equal, okay. These guys are up, that's also inequality, adjust somewhere. So depending upon the inequality in each of these criteria, you adjust the HDI. HDI is what? 0.7. which is on the higher side. But if the inequality is also there, your 0.7 becomes 0.6. If there is equality, 0.7 remains 0.7. If there is more equality, there can't be more. So there is HDI ranking, and you see the details of the HDI, and if there is inequality, adjust the HDI, down, or there can't be more equality, there can be only less equality. So, your HDI is 7.7, everything is equally distributed, you remain at 0.7. But it's unusual that any country has so much of equality that your 0.7 remains 0.7. There will be some inequality, and therefore every country that I assume, I haven't checked up the numbers, 0.7 invariably will become less than 0.7 because inequality will eat up a little bit of your ranking. So yes, that's progress to assess the human development based upon inequality. A lot of people are not being given equal share in the progress of the country. Then comes, this was during COVID that I recall. Everything is fine. HDI, they start. But we are sinking. We are all on Joshimat, for God's sake. Today you may be in Delhi or somewhere in Pune. No? We are all people from Joshimat. Like Maldives people said, we are all Maldivians. Today we will go down into the ocean, tomorrow you will come. We are all Sikkimese people. We are all from Sikkim. So, planetary pressures. Two aspects to planetary pressures. Planetary pressure. There is an unofficial terminology to describe the geological epoch that we are presently situated in. We call it Anthropocene. Anthropocene. This question is very, very likely, make no mistake about it. Anthropocene. The man, we may be very big and all that, the most destructive animal on this planet is, unfortunately, you and I. We destroy the planet, the trees and other animals, we destroy ourselves, we can sink a whole planet. An elephant can't, a tiger can't. Tiger can eat me, provided the fellow is hungry. But we can destroy the whole planet. That is man, the most destructive animal ever to come about. So the pressure we are creating for the planet and its resources for the last approximately 75 years or so, since 1945, that's a debate. Some people say since Industrial Revolution. Some people say after 1945. The pressure that the man is creating in terms of CO2 emissions. I want to use the green here. So, CO2 emissions, coal and all that. And here, the rate of depletion of mineral resources. After a while, there won't be any mineral resources left. You've depleted all, and they are not regenerated, they are not replenished. So, there is deficit for, the life and all that. So, the rate of depletion of mineral resources. The footprint, you can say the human footprint in the form of CO2 emissions and mineral use, you could say that. So, however, whatever be your HDI rank, inequality adjusted, you still have to factor in the footprint of man on the planet by way of CO2 emissions and the rate of depletion of the mineral resources. If you adjust the HDI to that, then you have an idea as to where we are going. Fantastic society. Lots of equality, lot of it. HDI, very high. But remember, in the HDI, there is no environment at all. How long we live, how many years we spend in school, and what's our per capita? Per capita is the villain of the piece. So this per capita is, so high, built into the high number of the per capita depletion. So I don't know, till 2021, United Nations Development Program, the architect of HDI did not think it right to include the environmental side into the HDI analysis. I can't believe this. Because your Rio summit was in 92, and why did you neglect it for 3 decades? So that doesn't matter, past is past, at least now you've got an index, and by this index India does well, because on the climate front we are doing what we are doing. We are seen as a champion, leader, Vishwa Guru and all that in climate. In climate, nobody takes you lightly, because India has made a lot of progress on the climate front. So yes, you got the HDI adjusted to the planetary pressures. Anthropocene, I told you, it's unofficial recognition of the present era. Anthropo, man, anthro means man, and the epoch. So the impact we are making, not the Holocene. Holocene is general. Anthropocene, last 70 years or whatever. And believe me, Anthropocene, next main examination, the stage is set. Preliminary also, equally probable. Why? Because the examiner knows that youngsters in the country have to know this. Without knowing Anthropocene, how are you likely to lead the country? So you have to know. So Dharmendra ji, time for another 2 or 3. Yeah. Purposefully I made it simple because it's outdated. Outdated means the UPSC must have given twice or thrice or even 4 times. 1990, this is 23. This many years. PhDI would be important now, but to understand that, you need to have a grip on this. Tell me, if I gave you a write-up on the HDI, finally, what you note down from that for your quick revision is this. So, this is your quick revision resort. Very simple, you know all this. I've removed G and I from here. The World Bank language of gross national income, nobody adopts that, so why should we? Per capita, make the life of the examiner also, unharassed. Next. Inequality adjusted. Take your time. I'm sure it will take you 90 seconds. Okay. Same people make it. UNDP makes it. Amartya Sen was associated, Mahbubul Haq was associated. These are all great human developmental economists. There is a school of macroeconomics, micro, whatever, economics. They say, they're called development economists, all Abhijit Banerjee and all these people, whoever is broad-minded. What they say is communism, come and gone. Liberalism, come and gone. Take the best of both. These are developing countries and we need to have development there. We can't be ideological about it. Let there be economic growth. See, there are 2 schools, Amartya Sen and Bhagwati. If I could tell you, can I use the board while this is here? Yeah. You know Amartya Sen. You know, government may not like him, but UPSC loves him. Please. And he is the most lovable person also. Amartya Sen. Greatest. And Jagdish Bhagwati. Jagdish Bhagwati. Another internationally reputed economist. See, basically, what Sen and company, Chaudhry's, Abhijit Banerjee, all these people, what they say is, don't say first let us grow and then welfare and all that. No, no. While growing, you ensure that the growth has a human face. For example, while building the road, don't cut too many trees. That is the environment side. So, you know, it's not that the growth will take care of the society in its natural course. No. Spend a lot of money on social sector. This main examination, the one that took place last month, a fortnight back, there was a question. So this is UPSC for me. Super question. You know the question? While economic growth takes place, why doesn't the human development follow? That's because you don't spend enough money on primary education, primary health, sanitation, and then you don't spend enough on, secondary education, skilling. So when you don't spend enough on the social sector, you don't let women come up, all that. So when you don't do that, then you will have economic growth but not human development to the extent they should go together. So Amartya Sen says, the growth of the economy and the development of the social sector should go together. Don't leave it to economy to take care of society. No, you have to, you're the government, you collect progressive taxation, spend a lot. Why is China coming up? They spend so much money on primary education that everyone is educated. While Nehru neglected primary education, we have to say that. But he did whatever good elsewhere. So you see, that is Amartya Sen. Whereas Justice Bhagwati, not Justice, Jagdish Bhagwati, he is a trickle down man. Trickle down. He says, build a road, there will be demand for cement and steel and all that. Guys will travel, there will be demand for vehicle, petrol, diesel, and there will be, I live here, road has come there, I'm a farmer, I've got my rice and wheat, I can take it to the mandi. And also once the road has come, doctors have come, shops have come. So he says a road, this question also came in the main examination. How do railways bring up the society? Like this. That is Jagdish Bhagwati. But then all this happens only where there is a road. What about the people where there is no road? We have to wait till the road? You shower money on them. Social development. So Bhagwati says, leave it to growth. Let the government not tinker with the economy. Let there be private enterprise and growth will take care of development. But that's never happened. Amartya Sen and others, they say, no, deliberately, as a matter of plan, you have to develop the society along with facilitating economic growth. That is the trickle down. I want to tell you about trickle down. This can be a very good question in the main exam. Trickle down. I've already explained to you what is trickle down effect. I want to give it a respectable shape, number one, and I will show you its limitations, number two. Respectability, the way Nehru did it was respectable. How? Steel plant or heavy engineering plant or a dam, Hirakud, Nagarjuna Sagar, whatever. You know what happens is, when you build a steel plant, Ancillaries, there will be demand, nuts and bolts, the components. Employment there will be. Township will come up. Hospitals, colleges, schools, shops. So the fact that you are building a steel plant means you're triggering an entire ecosystem of economic prosperity. That is trickle down. Steel plant, the benefits will trickle down to all. That is trickle down. But that's the Nehruvian meaning. That's the meaning we are taught. That's the meaning we sort of advocate. But that's not the meaning abroad. In the world, there is this trickle down effect. I told you, I think day one itself, I told you there was this British Prime Minister who lasted the, shortest, Liz Truss. The day she came to power, day means a day or 2, 3 or 4 days. The first thing she did was to cut the corporate tax rate. She says the economy is not growing, give them tax cuts and they will invest a saved amount and that will give stimulus to the economy. That may be true, may not be true, that's another thing. The point I am making is, in the West, today, all over the world, the only meaning that the term trickle down effect carries is cut the tax rates for the rich. Let them save money. Assume that the saved money goes into investment. That will generate economic growth and that will generate jobs, and thus the tax cuts for the rich will translate to general economic prosperity. Nobody ever saw any evidence for it. But still, they keep saying all this. That goes under another name also, supply side economics. Supply side. It's become a household term and therefore I have taken this up. Supply side is, you boost the supplies, you can also boost demand. How? Cut the tax rates, investment, supply, cut the interest rate, cheapen the money, let there be more, easier credit. Demand. Jobs will create, supply will create jobs and incomes, that will create demand. On top of that, you also ease the credit supply and with that, let there be more demand generated. So, this is called supply side economics. What do corporates do? They boost the supplies by investing. That is why the name has come, supply side economics. I hope you understood. Must have? Yeah, very good. Okay. So come back here. This you have seen, inequality adjusted. Let's go to Anthropocene and all that. Before Anthropocene, I've sent you 2 graphics. The 4th one should be the third one should be the 4th. This time scale wala comes next. I'm not a geography man, I'm not a geology man. Don't ask me about that. But since you have geography and all that, you'll be able to understand. Planetary pressure actually, Human Development Index. Please go through. Super index. Since our name is shining bright in climate and stuff in the world, expect this question to come. Everything that I told you. As pressures increase, PHDI is, HDI is more than PHDI. Pressures are increasing, they are depleting your HDI. Why have they done it? They have done it, you see. It provides an index based on which you can rectify your policy. You can correct your policy. To think that I know everything. Yeah. People are telling us, you're going wrong there, you correct yourself. Otherwise the whole nation, the whole world, the planet will sink. The whole planet will become Joshimat. Sikkim. People got washed out, people are still missing. Paradise, floods in the paradise. The goal, see, the goal is to achieve high human development without exerting undue pressure on our planet. Most important thing. Otherwise you are eating yourself. You know, I've read in the respectable magazine, growth, 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 if you think there is only growth and nothing else, then your thinking is cancerous. Because only cancer means uncontrolled growth. All else is controlled, regulated, guided growth. Only cancer means uncontrolled growth. This is about PhDI. You got the whole concept clearly. Don't forget to write this, because you are diminishing the HDI by depleting the mineral resources and, you know, CO2 fumes. So this the examiner will love it. This the examiner will love it. Because it's application, practical. Next is your geology thing. You know, I just thought you should know. This is very important. There's a debate here. Should it be 1800s or should it be 1945? The consensus seems to be 1945, 1950. And all this, you have to study. Holocene, 11,700, you know, stratigraphy, etc. You have to study. It's not, you know, necessary for me. You have to study. Keep this as your companion, you know, for a quick look. And then it's exam oriented. I think this is, oh, okay.